So here we are at the tail end of 2019, and apparently I get to open one of my Christmas presents early, because I got to spend some time with Darksiders Genesis. Now to begin, I need to make it clear. It would be incredibly easy for an observer to mistakenly label Darksiders Genesis as a side game or a forgettable entry that sits external to the main numbered series, but this could not be further from the truth. Darksiders Genesis is unmistakably Darksiders to the eye, but in operation it is different enough to carve its own path. Whereas previous Darksiders games were third-person action-adventure games, Darksiders Genesis is a third-person action-adventure game, where your third-person camera is now elevated to an almost isometric position. The camera actually feels like its own character within the game, dynamically shifting to suit your environment. When you find yourself in a claustrophobic corridor, it actually moves closer to tighten your view space and suit that mood. But step outside, however, and the camera will move backwards and perhaps even pan a little bit to communicate the freedom now offered to you. Couple this with the game's offering to actually ride your horse through large areas, and you end up enjoying these cinematic events that are driven entirely by you. All of this spectacle draws from the rich visual foundation of Joe Madureira's signature style. I mean, Darksiders as a property attributes so much of its visual identity to his penmanship, enforcing clean comic book details across exaggerated proportions within character designs and environments alike.
Kill plenty, we both profit.
In motion, this gives Genesis a gorgeous style that lives and breathes with the camera's movement. The narrative at play serves as a proper introduction to the mythos of what makes the Darksiders series protagonist, the Horsemen, tick, explaining their beginnings, alongside the more straightforward story that Genesis is telling.
Wonder what it'll cost us this time.
Even while your player objectives flip back and forth between simplistic kill the guy and get the thing objectives, the interactions between war, strife, and even the environments tell a deeper story, full of regret and discovered purpose.
We've already got our hands dirty. No use washing them now.
Adding to this, between chapters you get to interact with the supporting cast of familiar Darksiders characters, and a couple of new ones, serving essentially as a briefing table for where you're headed next. The writing itself is sharp and quite witty at times, and endeavours to never outstay its welcome. On some level, I am disappointed that the majority of character interactions are done via a talking portrait method. I mean, previous titles had full in-engine cinematic interactions which were fun, but in the grand scheme of things, it keeps the exposition punchy and to the point, and also cements that Genesis is very much a different Darksiders title. Player growth is kept straightforward and enjoyable, with a point system that basically turns your monster kills into personal player power. Simply slaying demons will net you creature cores that you can then equip to boost your own stats, or even unlock fun passive bonuses to change how you play. It's incredibly simple to grasp and really quite fun to master. I predominantly played the single-player component, meaning I could leverage the brute strength of war or the unwavering firepower of strife whenever I wished, but never at the same time. While I briefly got to enjoy the split-screen co-op, it was difficult for me to really get a feeling as to what the development of Genesis was focused on. Whether playing solo or with a friend, the game felt balanced and enjoyable. I mean, I've played other co-op titles that lump you with an unimpressive computer-driven ally, or simply feel overwhelming when being played alone, but to its credit, Genesis felt comfortable in either format. Despite the drastically different change of perspective, the game feels quintessentially Darksiders. With a rewarding gameplay loop and pacing that keeps you engaged, it's a solid recommendation from me. For fans, Darksiders Genesis is a must-play, and for anyone with a passing interest, it's also a must-play. So check it out.
Tell me, Horseman, do you know of the arena?
You mean the hellhole where you fight to the edge of death, suffer unimaginable pain, and maybe, just maybe, escape with your life and a prize?
Yes?
Never been. But it sounds like my kind of place.